Tussle Ontario Exchange video series, a new video series from Tussle Ontario developed by our members for our members. The aim of this monthly series is to provide a bank of short videos between 5 to 15 minutes, consisting of teaching gems, tried and true lesson ideas, technology that helps you work more efficiently, and the time-saving tips for educators. My name is Gunul Tukdogan, and today it gives me a great pleasure to introduce our presenter, Brenda Kestenberg. She started her career in the insurance industry as an insurance broker. Brenda later transitioned into a technical training role in a large IT department in the insurance sector. She holds a Bachelor of Art degree from York University and has studied at North American Business College to obtain her OCLT. She's currently working at the Toronto District School Board as a supply instructor. She loves working in different classrooms, meeting new people. Thanks for joining us, Brenda. Tussle Exchange video title, Keeping Order in an Online Classroom. By the end of today's video, we will learn some great tips about keeping order in an online classroom environment. I am very excited. Let's move on to the presentation. Over to you, Brenda.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen here. And without further ado, here are my top 10 tips for keeping an orderly online classroom. And these tips are especially useful for your lower level students. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, computer literacy. Be aware that your students, some of them have never used a computer before. Start with setting them very simple step-by-step instructions on how to log into the video conference. And the key here is simple. Screen prints with pictures can be extremely helpful. Some of your students will be okay with just instructions or even a link, but some will need your help logging in. So be prepared. Your students may not know about URLs. Does it mean to right-click on your mouse? What is drag and drop? What's the difference between shutdown and restart? What are notifications and how do I disable them? So really teach them the basic computer literacy skills that they need. Number 2. And this is probably the most important point of keeping an order in your class. Muting all of your students is great for long lectures, really not so great for an ESL class where you're relying on participation from everyone. Any background noise is going to be amplified and it's going to disrupt your whole class. Some students, they don't even know that they're doing it. You'll need to stress the importance of logging on to an online classes from a quiet location. The more the background noise, the more disruptive your students will be. Your students will have difficulty hearing over the noise. Group work will be just so much more difficult. Use any means necessary to really stress the importance of a quiet room and keeping background noise to a minimum. Many of your lower level students are not going to understand what is a quiet room. So this is how I like to explain to them. What is this? Is this a quiet place? Is it a loud place? And I like to show lots of pictures of loud places and quiet places. I like to ask my students, is this a quiet place? Is this a loud place? Spend a lot of time on this because it will really help to preserve your sanity. You need to make sure that every student understands. At the end of the slideshow, you can ask them, why are we talking about loud places and quiet places? And then that's the good time to explain the importance of choosing your location wisely. Number 3, using third-party sites. Explore some of the wonderful third-party sites out there for easy digital lessons, such as ESL Library. But using third-party sites that require a student login can be a challenging concept for some of your students. ESL Library, Google Classroom could be a teacher's best friend, but be aware that using these amazing tools may require your students to create an account. And what is straightforward for you could be a huge challenge for your ESL student. Explain the concept of an account. Explain the difference between login and sign up, and this is a big one. Test them. If I have an account, do I log in or sign up? If I don't have an account, do I log in or sign up? Where do I click? Where do I go? Share your screen and show the class how to log into third-party sites that you may be using, and show them slowly. Give them time during class to create a profile. The inexperience with technology could be a huge roadblock for your learner. Help your learner by explaining website navigation. Your students will get frustrated because of mistakes they're making unknowingly. And I love to share my third-party sites over Zoom chat instead of email because it's instantaneous and it just takes less time. And just a note on ESL Library. Internet Explorer is not compatible with ESL Library. And this can be a really tough concept for some ESL students to understand. They'll just ignore the pop-ups because, well, they don't understand what it means. So they'll still try and log in with IE and get really frustrated with ESL Library and just give up. So talk about web browsers before they need to use one. And showing them a picture of the Internet Explorer on the right is very helpful, but to really get my point across, I like to point to the Internet Explorer icon and say, no, no, no. And then we know that Google Chrome is fully compatible with ESL Library. So I like to show them the picture, point to it, and say, yes, yes, yes. And I'll go back to the Internet Explorer, point to it, say no, 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 and go back to, I will go back to Google Chrome and point to it and say yes, yes, yes. Some of the students may not have access to Google Chrome, or they might not have it on their computer, so they may need your help to download it. Number 4. The mute button is such an important video conference feature to show your students. If you don't show them, they won't know. Take screenshots of your mute button and get everyone to practice muting themselves, unmuting themselves. Take a video of you pressing the mute button. Use gestures. Gestures are great. Mute, unmute, mute, unmute. Students need to be in charge of their own mute button. If you start muting your students, it means you did not do a good enough job of explaining the importance of a quiet room and the importance of using your mute button. Some larger classrooms will only work if everyone is on mute and the students unmute themselves when speaking. Personally, I love the feel of an unmuted classroom where I regularly ask questions and the students just take turns to speak freely. Some lower level students that are not technologically savvy will have problems with this, so be patient. Use class time to practice this feature. It really will save you a lot of grief in the long run. Other video conference features to show your students: camera on, camera off, and it's a great opportunity to politely request that students turn on their cameras. Number 5, cell phones. Try to avoid having your students log in to class with a cell phone. Emphasize the necessity of having a computer to join your class. Trust me on this, your students will not be able to see your screen shares with a tiny little screen. They'll miss things and have difficulty navigating some of the applications. Allowing cell phones in your class can keep your students from concentrating as well. They'll be focused on holding the phone at an arm's length away, and they won't be focused on the material. They will even try to log in while grocery shopping, in the car, or even at work. In a pinch, a large screen tablet will work, but a computer is really the absolute best case scenarios, and smartphones should only be used as a last resort. Number 6. Don't forget about the rules. Just because you are not in a physical classroom doesn't mean that your students can act differently. Explain that everyone needs to be engaged, paying attention. Emphasize the important classroom rules. Don't be late. Don't talk over people. Participate when required. Lower level students, we're not going to understand the vocabulary. So why not start out your first lesson with class etiquette vocabulary, words such as participation, engagement, disruption, professional, environment, respect, taboo, things like that. Taking phone calls during a physical class is a well-known taboo. But if you don't tell your students that it is also a taboo in an online classrooms, your students will disrupt your class by taking phone calls. Number 7, breakout rooms. If you are using Zoom for your classes, don't forget to enable a feature called breakout rooms. These breakout rooms will allow you to put your students into smaller discussion or work groups. Some students will have difficulty joining the breakout groups because they dismiss the pop-up to join breakout groups. If you divide your class into groups and some people don't join in, it can also mean that they're not physically present. Number 8, camera on. So try to get your students to turn on their camera. If everyone has their camera on, you will know they're physically present and more likely to be engaged in the lesson. Seeing people on camera gives you visual clues in case there's a problem. If they don't understand something, you will be able to see the utter look of confusion or panic on their face. Be aware that there will be students that log in, turn on their mute button, turn off the camera, and just leave the room. You can call on these students at various times to see if they are physically present. Having students turn on their camera gives it more of a physical class feel. Just remember that it should always be the choice of the student whether or not they want to turn on their camera. Number 9. Oh, the internet is down. Do you have a plan in place? Yes, it will happen to you. Routers break, accidents happen, Wi-Fi goes down. Know where your router is and how to reboot it quickly. Be prepared that using your cell phone data for online meetings can be very costly. Know how to tether your computer to your cell phone data so that you're not scrambling at the last minute. What will you do with a long-term Wi-Fi outage? If you have to cancel a class, how will you notify your students quickly? How will you handle the attendance on that day? Communicate your disaster plan with your students so they know what to expect if your Wi-Fi is down. Last but not least, locking your video conference meetings. Most meeting platforms will allow you to lock your meetings after your class has started. In theory, this is a great idea so that latecomers won't be able to log in and interrupt your class. In practice, however, people have problems with Wi-Fi on a regular basis, or they regularly make mistakes logging off in error or forgetting to plug in their devices and lose power. If the meetings are locked, they won't be able to log back in if they lose connection. So this comes to the end of our meeting. And thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. Wishing you the best of luck in running your virtual class. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
That was great. Thank you again, Brenda, for this informative video. We truly appreciate it. Dear audience, if you enjoyed today's video, please check out our videos from the Tussle Exchange playlist. There are great resources, so make sure to explore the YouTube channel. Finally, if you would like to contribute an educational short video, make sure to check the link in the information box below. Have a great day and see you next time.